Alex Terrace. I am a health equipment researcher of the last 15 plus years. I'm an expert in many different product categories. And if you have any questions, you need guidance on any particular category of modality or equipment, just send me an email. My email is below in the description box below. Please like and subscribe if you like the video. So in this video, a customer had purchased this Merach, it's a cool name, Merach vibration plate exercise machine. The other proper term for these types of products is called whole body vibration machines, or WBV. You may see that as an acronym. So, going back now, I think 12, 13 years, I've looked at some of the best machines out there. And the only thing that's happened because of how online consumer shopping has blown up, in the last 10 years especially, is that we have more and more and more white labels for every type of product you could think of, really. So China, it plays a big role in that, of course. And with something like this particular plate, these types of plates, and there's just so many that are kind of don't have any handlebar, tower, or anything like that, and they're just kind of similarly shaped. These will go for a range of prices, but they'll usually, for ones like this size that are lower performance, they'll be anywhere from like $100 to $700 in that range. Now, all of them coming from China, and you can look them up on Alibaba, a lot of them. The main factories are known. I've seen all the third-party tests, and I can show you where you can get access to those third-party tests in this video. But basically, these types of machines, they will import this style. They'll import for, like $25, and it's actually not too much of a ripoff, to be honest. It's definitely not the best machine, and we'll actually break it down in this video. But I do actually kind of appreciate them not ripping off the consumer as much, because historically, you can also find plates just like this one, same specs and everything, for hundreds of dollars more. And you can also find lots of different white labeled vibration machines from China in thousands. And the ones that are in the thousands, a lot of them, a vast majority, they also import those units for around like $100. So like the price of this retail right here, they are importing the multi-$1,000 machines also for about that price per unit. Pretty crazy, right? Would it be great to be in a business where you get something for $100 something and you sell it for $3,000? Yeah, so there's a lot of those machines out there. All their specs are just about identical. But again, there's third-party specs on all the main factories and thus for all the different white labels. So this machine, is it worth $109? Yes, if your specific health goals, and let's see what kind of goals they like to talk about here. Okay. So if your goals are, hey, my vestibular system, that's the part of your brain that helps you to balance, if you didn't know that. So my vestibular system is like a little bit off. Maybe you're an older individual, or maybe you had a brain injury or something, right? Anyways, you really want to work on your balance. A vibration machine of varying prices, or even this one right here, that's an oscillatory machine, meaning this side goes up and this side goes down like a seesaw, up and down and up and down. They don't really show a video on here. I'm sure you can easily find one, but basically, yeah, one side goes up and one side goes down on it. And if you stand on that, it kind of makes you lose your balance a little bit, right? And you need to use your vestibular and core stabilization muscles. It is a fantastic thing to work on balance with, okay? If you have, again, something particularly off with your balance. So great for that. Great investment, great price, honestly. If you're about 250 pounds, now they say safely supports users up to 400 pounds. I've seen enough to tell you that I'm sure that you could hypothetically have somebody on there, but I can promise you, in a matter of weeks or months, you may have some performance issues if you're, say, over 250 pounds. If you are over 250 pounds, I would suggest a better brand, okay? Just to be perfectly honest. So if you want to run your machine to the ground, yeah, faster, longevity-wise, I would just keep it on the lighter side in terms of the weight. And that includes also if you're bringing weights onto a machine, right? So you may only be 200 pounds, right? And you want to bring on 100 pounds and then squat with that, which is pretty cool, right? And you can definitely do that with vibration machines, but I wouldn't do that with this machine. So this one is good for balance, improving your stability. What else do they talk about? They talk about lymphatic drainage in this section. So, bouncing on a rebounder like a mini trampoline is, by the way, a fantastic thing to do for your lymphatic system. So if you're on a really tight budget, actually come to think of it, actually for $100, actually it's actually probably a better price than some of the nicer brands of mini trampolines. Funny enough, but there still is just a sidebar comment about lymphatic activation and flow and things like that. Jumping on a mini trampoline still has a little bit of a different effect. There's an overlap, but there is a bit, you get a bit more activation in your lymphatic system from your waist up, like more your upper torso. And you can actually truly feel this, honestly, especially in your brain. If you haven't bounced on a trampoline in a while, or like a mini rebounder, you can definitely feel it like strongly in your brain, in your head. That squeeze, that pressure, that G-force is really what it is. If you're standing on any type of vibration machine, even some of the best ones, you really just don't feel it the same, honestly. Lymphatically in your like upper torso, or like your head especially. And if you can get like your lymphatic system, some stimulation to your brain, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? To really try to get things to flush a little bit more, or like your upper chest, you know what I mean? Because you got lymphatic system everywhere. So I actually am a fan. If you really want to work on lymphatic system, you can get something like this, but I would also, in addition, at some point suggest a mini trampoline as well. And you don't have to use it a lot, like 5 minutes, a couple times a day, like twice a day. It's great if you break it up. Anyway, so this machine is very low performance. We will be talking about the specs. So again, it is okay for lymphatic drainage to a certain extent. Are there some machines that will produce stronger lymphatic drainage? Vibration machines. Yeah, they have higher performance specs, which again we'll get into. But this one is adequate for that, for sure. Absolutely. And what else? Help ease muscle tension. I would just tell you that yes, if you, especially in your legs, it shakes your legs. So yeah, if you like use it this way, if you're seated a lot, or if you kind of stand up on it and then lean on something, it's hard to show you the pose, like describe it to you. But if you lean on something, you can kind of get it to kick your hips on either side and wobble your lower back and your hips. And you can kind of loosen up your lower back with it. Also kind of good for that too. And yeah, you'll definitely, if you're a person that's more prone to muscle tension in those kind of areas, you definitely can literally shake things loose a little bit. Just like if you were to do actual movements on your own, right, without a plate. You get what I mean? So it's kind of replacing this. So what I've described in terms of lymphatic, easing muscle tension, stuff like that, this is kind of a little bit of a replacement for just movement. So if you sit a lot and you lay down a lot, get what I mean? So is it an absolute requirement that you have something like this to get at your lymphatic system and ease some muscle tension and get some movement? No, you could just do other forms of movement. You see what I'm saying? But there is also like some efficiency to using a vibration machine because of how many times this side goes up and this side goes down. And that up and down motion is measured in terms of frequency, or cycles per second or cycles per minute. How many times it moves up and down. Okay, just so you know. So when we get into the frequency section, that's what that's referring to. How many times does one side go up and one side go down in a span of time, like a minute, let's say, or a second? So there is some efficiency in how it can move your body very quickly and stimulate. So just like, give me an example. Like, let's say you're climbing stairs. Okay, that's obviously a form of movement. One hip goes up, one hip goes down, obviously, right? So what's the other thing that this machine will help with? It'll also help with some circulation, microcirculation, especially mainly more so in your lower legs. So if you're sitting a lot, or you have some circulatory issues, things like that, you definitely could get some benefit from this. Will it help you as much with like upper body circulation? Again, depending on what your level of movement and your lifestyle is, maybe. But you're going to really need a stronger machine with higher frequency and G-force if you really want to produce a stronger circulatory response, or basically you're trying to challenge. It's more, you want more of an actual workout. You know what I mean, to get improved circulation in your upper body as well. But again, something like that's super low impact. This will be okay for improving circulation, like your lower legs, to a certain extent. Also depends on how you're using the machine, like what types of poses you're doing. Like here's a little picture right over here. So, if you're like holding a squat or doing something like that, obviously that's going to produce more of a circulatory effect in your lower legs while it's running. So where is the frequency specs on here? All right. So what they talk about is 10 different speeds. And the 10 different speeds, it's confusing, but what we really want to know is what the actual hertz are when you're trying to do an apples to apples comparison with other machines that are out there. So 7.7 to 9.6 hertz for this model, and then both of them have the main difference right there is the displacement. If you're wondering what that means, 11 millimeters or 13 millimeters, imagine the plate is moving up and down, right? So that's the measurement from how much it can move up and down. So the actual height, if that makes sense. So it's nice to see a big displacement like that because it helps loosen up the body a little bit more. Has a little bit more of an effect on the lymphatic system, as long as your feet are all the way on the edge, the sides, which has the greatest displacement area. So the greater displacement, yeah, you'll get a little bit more of an effect on circulation, lymphatic, and kind of just loosening up tissues. However, the machine is extremely limited in terms of what it can do, just in terms of if you look at the field of whole body vibration training, the scope of all the research, the majority of all the benefits found and what they've been focused on and exploring, these machines are going to be very inadequate. They will not allow you to experience a lot of the other benefits that happen with higher frequency ranges. So 7 to 9.6 is definitely what I would expect for a plate that costs like $500 or less, in this range. Let's see if we can I just want to see if we can pull up any more specs here. Got it. So they have a couple different styles. And by the way, just remember that as you look at their other models and styles, what we want to, the specs are changing up here. Cool. Let's see, the 7 point, okay, so this one is 7 to 14. Got it. Okay. So this model right here goes 7 to 14. Definitely that would be one of their better models that we would want to get versus 7 to 9.6. So I don't know what the price is. The way that they lay this out on Amazon is actually a little confusing. But yeah, 7 to 14 is where you want to be. However, if you want to actually get like significant physical training benefits, all the very unique physical training benefits that a true whole body vibration machine can give you, you really have to go way beyond this frequency range. I would say you want a machine that's at least can get you to 25 hertz, because right around when you get to that upper range with an increase in G-force as well, which I'll talk about in a second, then your body actually responds in unique ways physiologically. So I wouldn't really look at these, even their best brand or best model from Merach, I wouldn't really consider it like a high performance whole body vibration training machine. You'll miss out on a scope of benefits if, again, you're getting it in part for training purposes or for bone density. So if there's a couple of your goals, I just wouldn't waste your time or money. I mean, it's better to have, if you can't afford anything higher, you know what I mean, that's higher end and it's something versus nothing, yeah, absolutely, just, definitely get it versus not buying it. So you'll get at least something out of it. You know what I'm saying? And I will actually have a better recommendation for a high performance machine that comes at the best value price currently on the market in a second here. So the other thing besides frequency A big red flag when you're looking at whole body vibration machines is when they don't tell you one of the other very, very important specifications, which is G-force. So producing a plate that has a frequency range, or even a high frequency range for that matter, is not too difficult if the G-force is low. So in other words, producing speed, pretty easy from an engineering standpoint. Producing speed with actual force behind it, significant G-force behind it, is much harder. So the G-force of the 7 to 14, I already did some due diligence ahead of this, but their 7 to 14 range machines are 1G. Now, I know, again, a lot about the different factories in China, and I can just tell you that that's probably right. It probably is 1, but you will find also a lot of other machines like this, their model here, and other brands that are actually below 1G. But I'll give it to them, and I'll say that, it's 1G. I mean, it's not hard to believe. Now, 1G is a little bit shy of where you want to be. Again, if some of your goals are using a vibration machine more for physical training, okay, in a unique way, right? Other than like working out on the floor, you know what I mean? Just walking around on Earth, doing your exercise routines. So if you want to get those really unique effects, then you got to be somewhere more around at least 10 Gs, or something that can at least go up to that. Can you go beyond that too and get further training benefits? Yes, you can. You can, and generally that next tier up is going to be somewhere up to like 14 to 17 Gs. And when we say G-force, remember, what is that? If your foot is here, just imagine you're standing right here on either side, your feet are here. So when that plate moves up against your foot, it's accelerating, right? There's an acceleration force. And if you calculated that based on how much force is behind that movement against your body, it temporarily will produce what can be calculated as a G-force. And it's like a temporary increase in the weight of your body. Does that make sense? So if you weigh 100 pounds, right, then for a really a millisecond, repeated milliseconds, your body will be, maybe if it was 10 Gs, for example, that would be equivalent to 1,000 pounds. It would be like you weighed 1,000 pounds, which if you think about it, you're like, oh my God, that's crazy. So in very brief moments in time, it's like my cells, my body, my tissues have to respond as if I weighed 1,000 pounds. Now, if you truly weighed 1,000 pounds, you wouldn't be going anywhere. You'd probably be dead, but you'd be on the ground, like a little puddle, and you wouldn't be doing anything. But it's because it's exposing your body to very, very brief bursts of that G-force. It's fine. And you remember like fighter pilots? I'm sure everybody's seen that video, right? You're like videos in the cockpit of a fighter pilot experiencing a lot of G-force, or when they're spinning you around that like centrifuge, training astronauts and stuff like that. Anyways, these types of people in these professions, they're being subjected to 2, 3, 4, 5 Gs, et cetera, right? Up there, but for sustained periods of time, relatively not that long, but it could be like many seconds. It could be a couple minutes. It just depends, right, on the scenario. But that is very, very difficult on the body because it's sustained for much, much longer. And you could even pass out. It's extremely easy to pass out when you're being sustained for like 20, 30, 40 seconds, etc. But remember, with this, it's extremely brief. Milliseconds, okay? Milliseconds repeatedly over and over and over, depending on the frequency, okay, of every time that plate moves. So I just wanted to explain that mechanism to you. So it's because of that unique kind of physics effect there and how your body responds. That is kind of the secret sauce, in part anyways, of how this can train your body and give you certain effects that are unique to just working out on the ground, just on Earth, right? Not standing on this. So what's a better machine, right? If you're really actually looking for those higher performance effects, many companies out there, many. But through this company, you can actually request, I think it's somewhere on the website, you can request the third-party tests that were done on all the major whole body vibration machine factories that are responsible for producing 90-ish% of the vibration machines on the market, different white labels. So you can check out that. This company's been around longer than most that you will encounter in the industry. They're one of the older companies. And there's really not that many, by the way, like really, really old companies. They've been around at least 20 years. I think it's longer than that. But anyways, they got their start way back when with reverse engineering. They wanted to figure out how to reverse engineer a Galileo Fitness whole body vibration machine. You'll see some of my old videos talking about Galileo and testing it. That's a medical device, whole body vibration machine in Germany. At least $14,000 plus. Gold standard for oscillatory or pivotal types of machines where it's like the seesaw motion. And they were like, this is so great. One day, maybe more people could actually use vibration machines, and not everybody can afford $14,000 or more. And there was just a really handful of really, really good machines way back when, and they were all quite pricey, very expensive. I think the original power plate, which is very different than the current one, was also it was up there about 14 to 25,000, roughly in that range. So it's like, who the heck's going to buy that, right? So they were like, okay, we're gonna really, work hard here and spend a lot of money and a lot of time trying to figure out how can we produce somewhere close to those specs, and quality, but not break everybody's bank, make it more financially reachable. So these are their current models, but they had one original model, and it was like 2,500, 2,400, 2,000, something like that. And they had one model for quite some time. And it was not too far off from the Galileo Fitness, like gold standard sort of performance specs for a very, very reasonable price. And that original machine is still out there, functioning in commercial clinics for 15, 20 years now. They build incredible machines. You don't understand how difficult that is to produce real specs and have it run for so long. It's crazy. So they just tighten the bands inside, do a little tweaking at some of these commercial locations, and they're ready to go, keep the machine running. Really impressive. I've had my machine for at least 12 years. I don't expect it to die anytime soon. Anyways, if you want to check out these machines, my coupon code, which I'll put below in the description, is AlexHealth, ALEX, Health, HEALTH. So they have multiple machines here. When it comes to these specs, 5 to 25, 5 to 30 hertz, 5 to 35 hertz, displacement, these are the G-force behind the frequency. 10 Gs, 25 hertz at the bare minimum. That's very impressive for their base model. And then just goes up from there. They do have a machine called the Galaxy 25, which I would have to get you a custom quote on and get you a deal. So you just have to reach out about it. But it's around $10,000 and goes up to 35, 40. Can't believe I'm forgetting. You can get up to 25 Gs on it, which is insane. It's more like a high-end commercial elite level machine. So maybe appropriate for like gyms and elite training centers and athletes and stuff like that. Although this 17G one was originally designed for commercial type of applications like I just described. It's a beast. So there's really no other brands except for the really expensive ones, really expensive commercial units that have these types of performance specs. Now, I just have to educate you because when you see the specs, let's say you see 25 hertz and 10 Gs, you may run across in Googling a few brands out there that say they have some performance specs that are around this. Most likely what you have found is a company with false specifications. In other words, they're lying to you. I've talked about this in videos a long time ago over the years. This product category is ridiculous from the standpoint that the companies that get their machines from these few factories in China, there's a couple layers of confusion for the consumer. One, the factories themselves quite often misinform the importers or distributors about the true, real specifications. So when a company white labels and starts to sell it in, let's say, the United States, they're telling consumers the specs that the factory told them, which oftentimes is a lie. It's inaccurate. Then you also have the companies that have white labeled selling machines that are consciously lying. They know. And the factory has told them the true specs, but they changed the specs in their marketing. Most machines, a good majority of them in this product category, their specifications are inaccurate. I hope you understand that. So if you go find a video and you're like, oh, but I found one for 25 hertz and it was like $1,200 and it was such a good deal and they had like free shipping, and it's like, they probably lied to you about the specs. Here, listen to what I'm saying. Don't buy it until you say, hey, do you have any third-party validation for the specs that you're claiming? Yes or no? Oh, no, the factory is saying, here's what the factory, here's a little, and they send you like a little thing from the factory, little page. Not good enough. That's the problem. That's literally the problem. That's why this product category is difficult for consumers to do apples to apples comparisons. I know it sounds crazy, but don't just shop by price and specification, at face value when you see it on a website or in a brochure or at a trade show, health conference. You have to ask for the third-party validation. And there are some ways, by the way, to do tests yourself. There is a way you can also show that you can also see if they're going to do you can tell them to buy a certain device. You'll see it in some of my old vibration machine videos where you can actually measure how fast the plate moves. And you'd be quite surprised. The machines that I'll actually test that are super mainstream with a little at-home device that you can tell how fast it moves. And we're like, oh, wow, interestingly, the machine was only 15 hertz max, even though they said 25 or 30 or whatever. There's so many machines on the market right now that say they have higher frequency, and really almost all of them max out at 15 hertz. It's the stupidest thing in the world. That's very, very common to find that. But again, you're not done. Just because you have a machine that has high frequency, it also has to have the high G-force behind it. That is what takes real engineering and a lot of cost to produce. That's what you want, okay? And I would just want to also add, if you remember in my video, in that other super cheap machine, they said, oh, it's the Merach, good for up to 400 pounds. Well, that's interesting because one of the better machines in the entire market, on a couple of their machines now, they say you should only be up to 310 pounds. Interesting. And these machines are not even remotely comparable. You can't even remotely compare this to this. And they're saying the max you should put on here is 310. Interesting, right? That's just like a perfect example of companies that are misinforming you. That's why I said, realistically, this other machine over here, 180 pounds, not even maybe 200. If you really want to keep your machine functioning for a while, like 1 year or 2 years with this, yeah, I'd probably stay under 200 on it. But anyways, actually, there is one more thing I want to say. The issue with these cheap machines is even though they will give you the specifications, which remember we looked at 7 to 14 or up to 9.6 or whatever it was, I will guarantee you that if you asked even from the factory for those tests, backing up those specs, the specs on these, or most cheap machines or most of the machines on the market, they will oftentimes give you specifications that are based on unloaded tests. What does that mean? Nobody was standing on it, or they put no weight on top of the machine when they measured the G-force and frequency. Most of the specs that you see for most vibration machine brands are unloaded tests. Yeah, more bullshit. So when you have somebody who's 200 pounds standing on this thing, trust me, the G-force will go down and it may not be able to produce the same displacement of the plate. It may not be able to produce the same max frequency. And also, as the person's heavier or as the machine starts to wear, because it's cheap, over a year or two, Will your performance specs reduce? Yeah. Your G-force may go down. Your displacement may go down. Your frequency max may go down. That's also something common to find with a lot of machines because they're just cheap. So I told you, there's a lot of machines sold for multi-thousands and they import them for like $80 to $120 within that range. Okay. So just because you spend $3,000 on a machine, don't think like you got some high-end thing. It's false specs and they just overinflated the price. Okay. Oftentimes. So with these machines, when you see these specs with Hypervibe, those are loaded tests. Okay. They put weight on the machines and they run them also for a period of time. It wasn't like, hey, we loaded the machine and measured the performance specs after 10 seconds. It was great. No. The other question is, how long did you run it for? Because that's when a machine and the engine and all the motor parts and everything, and you name, right, all the stuff in there, those start to warm up. They get hot. There's friction, right? So you also want to make sure that they've loaded a machine and ran it for a period of time. A real world test, right? A lot of stuff to know. A lot of stuff to know about vibration machines. And it's such a corrupt product category in terms of what these companies are selling. I would say, remember, pivotal, I would stick with the pivotal machine. It's like a seesaw motion. One side goes up, one side goes down. There are a couple good lineals out there, lineal machines, which are not like seesaws. The whole plate just goes up and down at the same time like an elevator. The displacement is also like 1 to 2 millimeters for some of the best machines out there. The less good ones, they go under 1 millimeter in displacement. But the really good lineals that actually can do something for you, they're very expensive, just straight up. Most people prefer the pivotals because they challenge your core stabilization muscles much, much more so. And that's better for more nervous system recruitment, better training of vestibular, central nervous system. You have to recruit more of your nervous system when you're doing any sort of exercise with it. Pivotals just challenge you a lot more. They're harder to stand on, okay? The other reason is one hip goes up, one hip goes down. It's a more natural movement, and most people feel more comfortable, especially if there's some real G-force behind it, with a pivotal motion. If you could stand on them side by side, like a really good lineal machine versus pivotal, almost everybody agrees. They're like, I don't like the lineal. It feels, oh God, it feels so weird. I don't like that vibration, that force. But the pivotal is nice and smooth. It's just, people prefer it. And then also pivotal because of it's a greater plate displacement. And it also just kind of shifts the hips and moves the body. It shakes it a little bit more. You get definitely more lymphatic flushing and stimulation. And more circulatory stimulation as well with a pivotal versus a lineal. So I just want to clarify that because, there's big name influencers out there and companies that do a lot of advertising, stuff like that. And they're lineal machines. And they might be good lineal machines too. I don't know. That somebody's recommending or whatever. But again, a pivotal it just does a lot more for you, honestly. So I would not invest in a lineal. If you're looking for the best lineal on the market, I'm just going to throw it out there for you. Power plates, second best. They're higher end, more expensive model. But the best is Vibrogym, Vibro Gym. You can buy it from Europe and import it. But if you ever have an issue with it, you got to ship it back to Europe, which is expensive. They don't have any like United States support. And it's expensive. I would just probably go with something like this. Anyways. So again, coupon code for the brand is Alex Health. They have great touchscreen programs and workouts you can do. Very few machines on the market have anything like that, by the way. So they have one of the best apps. Again, maybe only one or two companies have a good app at this point in time. So that's another nice thing if you want to follow along with a workout, instructions, or just remote control, things like that. It's a great app that they've developed with this. So something else to, factor in or whatnot. This machine, as you can see, has no tower on it. And then these guys have towers. If you're wondering about that, just send me an email, fitforreviews@gmail.com. You'll find the description box below. And you can ask me, based on what your main goals are, if having a tower or not is going to be helpful or not. It just depends. It depends on what types of workouts you're going to do, with the machine, long story short. What your goals are, what your health goals are. if the tower is going to be helpful or not to have. But you can get away without having a tower if you position this thing next to a table or a couch or even a wall, or a chair, something you can lean on to do certain sorts of positions according to workout movements. And you can definitely get away with something like that. And that's a fantastic price for these performance specs. To be clear, their base model here, okay, for that price, that is currently better than 95% of brands, significantly better. This is also like commercial grade machine. Now, would this company recommend it in a commercial setting? No. They'd say probably go at least G14, G17 plus. I'd probably say if it's really going to get a lot of volume of usage and people are going to be heavier individuals or bring weights on the machine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I'd probably go with the G17. But these are beasts. All of these are beasts of machines if compared to what you find out there. Most people have just never experienced anything like these. They might have tried a Zaz machine at Costco or tried some Pivotal at a gym or something like that. It is a night and day difference when you have the G-force behind the high speed. Most people just going up to 25 hertz, they can't even stand on it for, I'm not joking. Most cannot stand on the machine for 25 hertz for more than a couple seconds. Just to paint a picture for you. So that's what I'm saying. It's intense. And your body does get conditioned to that, which is pretty cool. And then before you know it, you're like, I can handle the 25 hertz. It's still crazy intense, but you can stay on the machine. So that's what I'm saying. If you tried a vibration machine, you're like, I can stand on this. It really wasn't such a big deal, Oh yeah, I was just standing on it, did my workout. Yeah, imagine a machine that you couldn't stand on for more than a few seconds. Okay, that's what this is. And it goes even higher. It goes to 30. It goes to 35. You definitely got to condition yourself before you can handle that. But one nice piece is that, no, I mean, you're not going to like jump on there, for your first starting your workout and doing 25 hertz all the time. No. That's not even how the training works at all. But when you have that nice range, this is a better value also from the standpoint that you're going to be able to condition yourself and keep increasing your performance. Keep pushing yourself, right, in the different types of movements or workouts over many, many, many years because it has such a nice range. So I always tell people, like, listen, does it make sense to invest, $2,000 in a machine? Just giving you an example of a $2,000 in a machine that only goes to 15 hertz? No. No, it doesn't. Because you'll eventually condition yourself quite quickly to 15 hertz, especially if it's a lower G-force. You want a bigger range, okay, for your dollar. So I think I've said enough. If you want any feedback on a specific vibration machine that you're looking at or that somebody's endorsed, simply put it in the comment below the video or send me an email anytime, and I can give you big insights on whatever it is. But yeah, my current top pick for the price, the value, hands down is Hypervibe. It's extremely easy to compare this brand to anything else and see why it's a leader right now. Is in the pivotal type of motion, can you do better than this? You can do better than these options right here, but it's like $14,000 or more, just to put in perspective. And as far as their Galaxy 25, which for like 10K, which I could give you a custom quote on, and that's made to order, that Galaxy one, which you don't see featured here, that I would say is in the number one position right now. It did defeat the top couple pivotals historically. So I do, all in all, believe that this company is currently the best. And it's been years now. They've been the best. And you don't understand, there's companies that have tried to compete before, not many, and they have gone bankrupt and they have failed. Because pulling off these performance specs for this price, you just don't understand how difficult that is. How very difficult. That's why they originally started to reverse engineer a machine that was, $14, $15, $16,000. So that's probably really realistically more where the pricing should be, 10,000 plus, for really having something super high performance. So for a company to come along and say, like, we're actually really going to try to compete with Hypervibe, they have to be willing. It can be done, but they'd have to be willing to spend a lot of money on reverse engineering this, product development and marketing, and like, it's a lot. They're going to need a chunk of money on hand to try to enter the marketplace. And most companies, they're just like, nah, not worth it. We're just going to sell a cheap Chinese rebrand, a white label, just like everybody else is doing, and try to capture some market share and put most of our budget on marketing. And that is what most machines are trying to do, or most companies. Anyways, if you liked my video, found it helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. And then if you have questions, email me anytime or put them below in the comments of the video. That'd be great too. Thanks.